in my butt lately.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't had them.
Like I just like thinking it's in Phoenix, like, oh, there's nothing grows here.
Yeah,
But like it's so like there's so much pollen for no reason. It doesn't make any
that's
sense.
weird. I would think like Colorado has like a ton.
Yeah.
It's like stuff to make you sick, but not Arizona. That's weird.
Yeah. I know there's been like snowing a bunch there.
Yeah. I think it was snowing last night. Like it was just like nasty last night. It was like windy, like sleet, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's gross. Oh, like tweet out the link and then we'll be good. Okay. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Sideline. My name is Rishioza.
My name's Asher Heyer.
And we weren't able to talk after games 3 and 4 or 5 of the Minnesota series, but Denver did end up winning that. So we're going to preview what is the biggest series in not Nuggets franchise history, but probably it's the biggest since the conference finals.
Mm-hmm.
And arguably, I'd say bigger than that, because I think if you win this series, whoever wins this series is going to make it to the finals in the West. I don't think likely Golden State or the Lakers would be able to beat either of these teams. So
Right.
big series. This is what has been kind of building last 2 years. You know, when Jamal Murray got injured, like, all right, the season's a wash. Mike Porter Jr. got injured last season, like, all right, this season's a wash too. So it's been 2 years in the building for this. So very, very excited. We'll also get into some Broncos draft talk a little bit, just kind of talk about positional needs with day 2 of the draft, rounds 2 and 3 coming up today. Yeah, we'll get into all of that. We'll start with the Nuggets versus the Suns. This is like, I feel like we kind of knew this was happening, like really since like March, like since the KD trade. Phoenix kind of solidified themselves into the 4th seed, and I think everybody kind of knew, like, okay, second round matchup, this is kind of gearing up towards it. As Nuggets fans, we're all hoping for Golden State and Phoenix to be the 4 and the 5, so one of those two could get out before facing Denver, but it looks like Denver's still gonna have to play Phoenix. It's gonna be interesting. Like, I think, like, what are your thoughts on it, like, just at face value? Because there's so much to unpack with it. Like, it's not a very easy series to dissect.
Right. I mean, first of all, I agree with your point that you made before all this, that like I think this series is like, I mean, it's the most important one that I've like been alive, I think, in like other than, I mean, like alive and like conscience. Like I know that they made the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers with Melo, but like I was just a little kid. Because of like the anticipation, the hype, as you said, it feels like this was either a second round matchup or a Western Conference Finals matchup, because the Suns maybe had a chance to jump the Kings at 3 at some point. But yeah, it felt like this was going to be a series that was going to happen. And it's just stars everywhere, like Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul on one team, Jokic, and then you get Murray back and Porter. Like, I know they made the Western Conference Finals also in 2020, but Michael Porter hadn't really came out yet as a legit, player in this league. So while maybe he's not like a star or whatever, like now he's kind of developed into being a third, great player on this team. So that's great. Face value. It looks like the best series out there. It feels like this is the Western Conference Finals. It feels like these two teams are probably the best in the West. And so, I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. And like face value, you just look at, all right, like Jokic, KD, Murray, Booker, kind of who wins those matchups. But obviously it gets really deep also with like role players and stuff. So we'll get into
Adam Silver. He's got to be like the happiest man on earth right now, because the markets that are playing in the second round in the East, it's Miami and New York and Philly and Boston, arguably the four biggest markets in the NBA, like four of the biggest markets in the NBA. And then in the West, Phoenix is one of the bigger markets. And then you're likely headed towards a Golden State Los Angeles matchup as well. So that like Golden State Lakers might be the most profitable series in NBA history, like just from a TV standpoint. Like every single person is going to be tuning into that, just with how big their fan base are. So Adam Silver is his script writers pulled through for this second round. But on Nugget side of things, like this is like what you've been building the team for, is what you built a team in the offseason for, is what you have been building the regular season for.
Yeah, I'll say like one more thing. It feels like this is really the first year where it feels like the Nuggets actually have a legit chance to win a championship.
Yes.
And that's why it feels so huge.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, I completely agree. Like so many people, like I feel like the expectations on Denver from outside media has been really, really hard on them, like almost championship or bust levels, which it's not at all, because every single season the Nuggets have made the playoffs, they haven't had championship expectations until now. Like first season they made the playoffs, 2019, it was their first year in the playoffs. No one expected them to win the championship. I don't even think Nuggets fans expected them to win the championship. They were just happy that they're in the playoffs. And then the next season, you're behind LeBron and AD, you're behind Kawhi and Paul George. Like there's still a gap to be made. There's still a jump to be made in terms of making the Western Conference. And they made that gap. Like, but going into the playoffs, those expectations weren't there. Then obviously the next year with the Murray injury, and then the year after with the Porter and Murray injury combined, like this is the first season where you're going into the season like, okay, we have a legit shot to win. So like I completely agree with you there. Like that's why it feels so much bigger, because we had like Nuggets fans have not been in this position since 2009. Like legitimately, we haven't been in this position for that long. So this is going to be very fun.
Yeah.
And
then if we just we can like get into, I guess, the Suns. Like, do you want to do like Suns offense, Nuggets defense, what they might do there?
Yeah.
And then flip to Nuggets offense, Suns defense. So anyways, Devin Booker has been like going crazy this series, or this playoffs, in the first round series. He looks like, the man right now on the Suns. Usage rate wise, shot attempting wise, like isolation wise, he's kind of the guy, and KD's been playing more off ball with this team. So like Booker's the main point of attack, like defender. KCP, I think, will be put on him. And I think KCP will do a better job against Booker, because he's thinner, and Anthony Edwards plays like he's a football player, and he's built like he's a football player.
Yeah.
And he got to the rim, easily against KCP, and finished easily against Jokic, compared to Booker, who, like, he's strong, but he doesn't play as strong. Not even close to playing as strong. He likes the mid-range way more. All three of those guys, the three, CP3, Booker, Durant, do not shoot at the rim. Like they just, CP3, I think, has 12 made baskets at the rim this season. And Devin Booker and KD are like, just don't drive that often. So I think that'll be better for KCP to get his length and contest shots, rather than, Anthony Edwards just bullying through him for a layup. So I think that'll be a better matchup. And then there's obviously the whole CP3, DeAndre Ayton pick and roll with Booker working and KD both working off ball. And so you got to figure that one out too. I mean, what are your thoughts too?
Yeah, no, that's going to be that Chris Paul, Devin Booker, or Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton pick and rolls. That's going to be their key. That's what they're going to have to execute at the highest level. Cause like Booker and KD were phenomenal. Booker averaged against the Clippers, and it's different because Kawhi only played 2 games, and Kawhi was on KD for majority of those 2 games. I think the primary defender on Booker was, I think, Terrence Mann. It's either Terrence Mann or Norman Powell or Westbrook. Like, it was people who aren't the greatest on-ball defenders. And he was averaging 37, 5, and 6 on 60% shooting from the field, which is ridiculous. and 47% from three. And he also averaged 2.6 steals per game. So he was the best player in the Western Conference for that series. Like that's not a question. He was absolutely ridiculous. But I think Denver has more tools to guard him than the Clippers did. But that Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton pick and roll, like that's the one thing that they know they can attack, and that's the one thing that they know they have confidence that will work, because they know they've seen it before. They know that they can attack Jokic in the pick and roll. And like, as much as Jokic has made strides defensively, specifically since that series, and Denver has better tools to help Jokic out since that series, that's going to be what they just attack. And it's not even going to be Chris Paul some of the time. It'll be Devin Booker and Kevin Durant if there's switches. It'll be Devin Booker and Josh Okogie, or like it'll be, they can switch it whichever way they want. And I think Denver played at the drop a lot in that series against Phoenix 2 years ago, which was a horrendous idea. I seriously doubt they make that same mistake again.
Right.
But then your backline rotations have to be on point. Michael Porter Jr. as a low man has to be ready for the duck in by DeAndre Ayton. He's got to be ready for cuts off the weak side from Okogie or Booker or Durant. Right. Just thinking like how they've done it, how they did it in the Clippers series. They would run a pick and roll with Paul and Ayton, and they'd have Josh Okogie in the corner, or like weak side corner, and they'd have Booker Durant strong side, and then one of the other guys on the wings. But I think what they could do in this series is have both Durant and Booker in both corners, so that Denver can't just help off of Okogie off the weak side so easily. They would have to stay at home, and the spacing would just be so perfect for Phoenix like that. That's my biggest concern for Denver defensively, is like, how do they rotate? Who do they rotate off of on a pick and roll to help? Because they're not going to play drop. They're going to play at the level, and they're going to have to rotate playing for
right. And it'll be interesting to see. Josh Okogie barely played in the first 4 games of that series against the Clippers. However, he did come back in game 6, and he played like 30 something minutes or something in game 6, or maybe average like 26 throughout the last 2 games. So, and that coincided with Kawhi being out. Instead of having Torrey Craig play a lot of those minutes out on the wing, to stop Kawhi, they went to Okogie to slow down Westbrook because he's smaller, and just a better point of attack defender on guards. And so they go to Okogie. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here. Like, if it's Torrey Craig playing a lot of the minutes, let's say like Craig starts and he's going against the starters, like, then you can't really help off him that much in the pick and roll. If you're MPJ guarding him, or what I think they should do is have Gordon playing the worst offensive player, and like Gordon roam and try to stop the pick and roll, because he's better, thicker, and can jump higher. And so I think he would be a great help. Let MPJ's length on KD, whatever, like, KD will score more, in isolation or whatever per possession against MPJ. But, I'd rather have that than sacrifice the wide open pick and roll to Ayton. Yeah. But if Craig is out there, you can't really help off that much, because somehow he's been an amazing shooter this year, and he shoots in 8 career games against the Nuggets. He shoots 62% from 3.
Oh my God. I didn't know it was that high.
Yeah. I looked before this. 62% from 3 is what Craig shoots against the Nuggets in 8 career games. So like, that'll be tough. But if they do put Okogie out there instead of Craig, you can help off Okogie all day. Like, let Okogie shoot that corner 3. I don't care. Even if it's wide open, what is he? He's shooting, I think, less than. He was one of the worst spot up shooters. I know that, but
he's at regular season. He was at 33.5, and then Torrey Craig was 40 for the regular season. Yeah, so, and really that
33.5 is not like, that's better than he really actually.
Yeah, he shot 25% in the postseason.
Yeah, and limited minutes. His first 4 years in the league, he didn't even crack 30%. So, let him shoot. If they go to Okogie to put on Murray, Or do they put like Booker on Murray? But then that would tire Booker out offensively. So I kind of hope they put Booker on Murray
Yeah, me too.
defensively so that he's not as fresh offensively. But we'll see. But I think I feel like that's an interesting. Definitely, like people keep talking about Jokic in the pick and roll, but as you said, and what I think too, it's like it's more important for those back end guys,
Yeah,
MPJ and Gordon. And I just think Gordon would be more intelligent defensively, kind of like helping off.
yeah. The
And
MPJ I think is a really good weak side defender,
yeah,
but he like a lot of the times he is late on the rotation and like he will get dunked on because he's late on the rotation and then he's forced to foul. Or he lets some guy cut back door on him, like just he loses focus. Like he's been a lot better at it this season, but it still happens sometimes. So that's it. I'm interested to see what the thing on KD is. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Gordon
it
because
will.
I think
Yeah, it will definitely be Gordon. But say like that pick and roll is going crazy, and the Nuggets are down 2-1. Maybe make that adjustment. I don't know.
yeah. Because like I think MPJ is more important to the Nuggets because of how good he is on offense. And in a series like this, like you can't really focus on the defense that much because like Phoenix is going to score. Like they're going to score. You have to focus on scoring back. And I think if you put KD on it or MPJ on KD, he's going to get into foul trouble immediately. Like they're going to hunt that matchup right away. And I think that you can't allow MPJ to get into foul trouble that fast because then your offense, the ceiling is severely diminished. That's just my thoughts. But like if they're down 2-1 in the series or if they, have to make an adjustment, I think MPJ, he can't guard KD, but his length can bother him to where he won't get cooked every single time. Like he can hold his own more possessions than he won't, I would say. I think he's proven to be a capable defender enough for that. Because he didn't like every single time in the regular season. When he got hunted, he held his own. Like he did not get hunted at all this season because I think teams know that he can do it. Obviously, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker are like different beasts than like DeJounte Murray trying to hunt him or something. Like those guys can hunt whoever they want, and it won't really matter. But I think MPJ has earned the trust of fans and the coaching staff to be able to be out there and guarding the best players. I want to talk offensively a little bit though. Like you mentioned a little bit, like who's going to guard Jamal Murray. Like I think Torrey Craig starts for the Suns because the one thing Jamal struggles with, and we saw it in the Timberwolves series, was its length. Like if there's a lengthy, rangy defender on him, he struggles with it because Jamal makes tough shots. Like he makes contested shots. That's what his thing is. He doesn't really create separation all that well. Like in the bubble, he was doing it, and the season after he was doing it, because I felt like that's when he was his healthiest. That's when he was his leanest. Like he was the most athletic at that point. But now, like he's still like he doesn't seem to be in the greatest shape. Like he's still struggling to create separation a little bit, which is fine. Like his first season back, like that's all. There's expected side effects. So I think if you put Craig on him, that'll make it the toughest one. But if they start a Kogi, I think Jamal's going to be fine. Like he doesn't really struggle with strong defenders, like bigger guys. He struggles with rangy defenders. Like Nikhil Alexander Walker, his wingspan is huge. It's ginormous. So Jamal couldn't create any separation on him.
Right.
I think that's going to be key, depending on who starts.
That's true. I do feel like Okogie would be better at getting through screens than Torrey Craig, through the Jokic screens. And but yeah, I agree. Like he does struggle with length, but I don't know, man. I feel like Okogie would fit better on him just because he's quicker than Craig is. But I don't know. That's going to be so interesting. So game 5, Kogi played 33 minutes and Craig played 17. But again, that was with the Clippers who like had no wings out there. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting matchup. And then the other thing I want to see the Nuggets do is really like expose CP3, take advantage of CP3, whether that's with inverse pick and rolls, just hunting CP3 to get a mismatch on him at some point, because that's where you really can attack them. I think, because Booker is really his defense has gotten a lot better.
Mhm.
You know, MPJ could have a tough time maybe with Durant just with the length. And then so I mean, I just think like it's pick and roll on both sides, but I think the Nuggets have a little more creativity that they can go to in their versions of the pick and rolls compared to Suns. But yeah, I think that'll be an interesting one too.
Yeah, yeah. Like the Suns are gonna hunt Jokic. Denver has to hunt Chris Paul. Like Denver doesn't really run that type of offense. Like I've really noticed that. Like, obviously watching as many games as we have over the past few seasons, like Denver's offense isn't based off of hunting the weak link. It's just like the same thing every time. It's movement. It doesn't matter who's on the court. It doesn't matter who's defending. It's the same sets. It's the same offense. It just runs perfectly because of how good Jokic is. But I think in this series, they're going to have to make that small adjustments. Like we got to involve Chris Paul in almost every single action because he defensively this season, he has not been good. He's old. He's a lot slower than he was the last couple of seasons. You have to hunt him. Like he has to be the guy who you attack. And I think if, like you said, if they put Booker on, or whoever they put on Jamal Murray, that means Chris Paul is going to be on someone else. Like that means Chris Paul is either on KCP. That means Chris Paul is either on MPJ. Like that person has to attack. Like if Chris Paul's on MPJ, Michael Porter Jr. has to go off. I doubt that happens, but if there's a switch where Chris Paul is on MPJ, Porter has to attack it. Like that, in that Warriors game when Jokic was out, I think it was like early April. They had Steph Curry on Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. attacked it relentlessly, and I think if they have that switch happen, Denver has to keep attacking that. But I think Jamal is the X factor in this series. Like I think on the road against Minnesota, because it's Minnesota, they got away with it. But Jamal was not good. Like he was great the first two games. He was great in game 5. Games 3 and 4, he wasn't good. Like he was like 18, 19 points, like not good efficiency. He was really struggling to get the ball past Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Denver can't afford for him to have games like that. And I think he'll be better because he'll have more rest. Like he's not going to have a defender the caliber of Alexander-Walker on him in this series. But that's like Jamal can't have games where he scores 18 points because Denver's going to lose if that happens. Yeah. So he like Booker and Durant are going to go for 60 a night. Like you got to just account them going for that many. Jokic and Murray have to match that. And if Jamal Murray can't be at 25 to 30 a night in this series, Denver's going to really struggle to win. That's just my my thoughts on the X factor.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the bench, has to play a key role and has to be good in this, considering how poor the Suns bench is. Like I think the Nuggets bench has a big time advantage, especially if they can play like how they played against Minnesota and be literally positive in the Jokic minutes.
Yeah.
But like I think we need the bench or whoever, we just need to run these guys like out of the gym. Durant, old. CP3 is old. Durant has never seen the Nuggets really ever, this like type of Nuggets team. He's just been in the East the entire time. So if you can kind of blitz them that way with the altitude and they're not deep, like I think that would be a key part too. Just like really like try to overwhelm them with just speed and in transition. Obviously that means getting stops, which is going to be really hard to do. But
yeah, no, I mean Phoenix, like Booker and Durant both were upwards of 40 minutes a game in the Clippers series, and like the distance from LA to Phoenix is not far. Just 5-hour drive, it's like an hour flight. Like the travel wasn't an issue. Like they finished the series in 5. They're getting a lot of rest in between games, the same amount of rest that Denver got. So they'll be okay for the first couple of games, but Denver has to, like that bench has to be huge because that's the reason why Booker and Durant had to play so much, because the Clippers bench was playing well. Clippers are they're a very deep team, even without George and Leonard. Like they still have a lot of playable guys. So Denver has to be able to do that. And like Phoenix's defense is not good. Like they suck. They were 11th out of the 16 teams in the playoffs. Like, and that's against a Clippers team without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. It was a Russell Westbrook-led offense with Norman Powell as option number 2. Like Denver should, like their offensive rating should be upwards of like 125 this
Mhm.
series, like easily, because Phoenix's defense cannot handle like all of the talk nationally is, oh, Denver can't guard Phoenix. Like that's going to be the key. Well,
I know.
Phoenix can probably guard Denver less than Denver can guard Phoenix. Like
Yeah.
they don't have anything near the defensive capabilities that they had the last time these two teams played. Like the last time these two teams played, you had Jay Crowder, you had Cam Johnson, you had Mikal Bridges, you had Chris Paul playing at a much higher defensive level. Like now you don't have any of those guys. Chris Paul has
Yep.
severely declined on the defensive end. Jokic has gotten better. You have more help on the outside. Like when you're looking at Denver, like DeAndre Ayton cannot guard Jokic one-on-one. Like that's not gonna be able to happen. Jokic, theoretically, like on paper, looking at it before the series starts, he should have a lot more energy in this series compared to the last time. He's not gonna have to work as hard on defense. So he should be able to take it to Ayton a lot more than he was in the last series. And you can't who are you going to double off of? Like
Yeah.
you have
And
Gordon,
plus, he
like,
doesn't. This series, he doesn't have to deal with 2 7-foot monsters. One
also
that's
that,
literally a 3-time defensive player of the year. Like Durant, okay, Durant is 7 feet, but he doesn't. He doesn't play, like that defensively. So
yeah. I tweeted this out and it was like, it's kind of a hot take, but it shouldn't really be a hot take. It's a hot take if people outside of Denver see it, but Denver's going to have a much easier time offensively in this series than they did against Minnesota. Like they're going to be so much fresher. They're going to be so much. It's going to the game is going to be so much more free flowing in this series. Like they're going to have they're going to be tested a lot less against Phoenix than they were against Minnesota, just because Minnesota, like they just had length everywhere. Like their starting lineup: Cat, long wingspan, huge guy; Gobert, long wingspan, huge guy; Nickeil Alexander-Walker, long wingspan, huge guy. Like it's just a bunch of arms like everywhere. Like you can't do anything against that defensively. Like Denver's offense wasn't that good against Minnesota. Like outside of that, even that game one, they weren't good. Like so Denver's gonna like dominate on offense. And I think that's something that a lot of people aren't thinking about, is how good Denver's offense is gonna look against Phoenix.
Yeah. It'll also be interesting to see Cameron Payne's role in this, if he plays any role in the series. Because he did come back for game 5, but for 3 minutes. But I don't know if like he was still nursing his injury at that point, or if he's just not in the rotation right now. But I think that would be interesting because he's really the only guy off their bench who can like get a basket, who could go and get maybe 16 points or something off the bench.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting because if he's not playing, then like, I feel like Bruce Brown is capable of having, or I mean, if Cam Payne does play, Bruce Brown has a big part in this series too, to try to shut him down and then whatever, get out in transition also. And so like, I don't know, man. I'm feeling pretty confident really for the series.
Yeah. Like my heart is telling me like Denver could win in 5 or 6.
That's what I think. I was gonna say, I think like they could have literally like win in 5.
Yeah. But like my heart tells me they could win in 5. My brain is telling me it's gonna go 6 or 7.
Yeah, because it's still Devin Booker and it's still
it's still like that's the thing. Devin Booker is playing at such a high level right now. Like I don't think a lot of Nuggets fans are realizing how good he's like. He had 47 in the closeout game. He also had 10 assists and he's averaging 2.5 steals. Like he is on a completely different level than the last time that we saw Booker in the playoffs.
I've heard people, say that it may come down to, because whatever, this is just like the, like big time analysts, like Jokic and KD are going to like cancel each other out, whatever. They're just so good. It's going to come down to Murray and Booker. I'm like, I don't think it is, because Booker is like, he's better than he's way better than Jamal Murray is.
Yeah.
And so I think Booker is going to have a better series than Jamal Murray. It just comes down to obviously like the role players and stuff and Jokic. So yeah, I mean, I'm like Devin Booker is playing at a top 5 like player right now.
Yeah.
And he's been the best player in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's scary.
Yeah. I like we said it before, and it goes without, like Jokic has to have Jokic has to average like 30 and 12 in this series. Like that, like he cannot have a passive series. And it's understandable why he had a passive series against Minnesota. It's just because every time he would go in the paint, he's surrounded by just 14 feet of arms. So like you can't really do anything. So he had to pass out. He had to let Jamal Murray have, a series where he averaged upwards of 30 a game. But this series, he has to be the main scorer. It has to be him. Like it is very, very similar to the bubble. Like that Utah series. It was Gobert guarding him. Murray was the one who went off. Jokic was the one who kind of took a back seat and was a secondary option on offense.
Mm-hmm.
But that Clippers series, Jokic was the best player in that series. Like people still say, oh, Jamal Murray had a great series. Like, yeah, he had 40 in game 7, but until game 6, really, Jamal Murray was not having a good series against the Clippers. It was Jokic who was carrying the load off on offense. And I think that's the way it's going to have to be against Phoenix. Jokic has to have a huge series. And I think the same way Aaron Gordon has to have a huge series. There's nobody who can match his physicality. Like he's going to have such an easier time scoring the ball because he's not going to be guarded by Gobert or Karl Anthony Towns in this series. He's going to be guarded by likely Kevin Durant or Josh Okogie. Like he easily can outmuscle those guys. Like Kevin Durant is like still a good defender, even at his age, just because of how long he is. But if he's guarded by Josh Okogie, if there's a box out where Aaron Gordon's fighting for an offensive rebound between Josh Okogie and him, like Aaron Gordon should average like close to 10 rebounds a game, close to 17, 18 points. Like he should dominate the paint. The paint battle has to be won by Denver in every single game this series because they just have the two best paint scorers in the series. Like they probably have the best like 5 paint scorers in the NBA or in the series. Like like you said, Phoenix does not attack the rim at all. Denver has to wear them out down low.
Right. And I think they will. And I think, going back to the Durant part, like, and him not, he's never seen this offense before. This offense is just so unique. And so is he going to be ready for the Aaron Gordon cuts or the MPJ random cuts after he's like shot like 5 threes and then he whatever. But so that'll be tough for him. I don't think he's really going to have like as big of a role as people are saying. Like I really do think Devin Booker is the guy on this team. Yeah. And because KD has played more like a MPJ, he played like MPJ in the first round, a more, I guess, like
floor spacer type of guy.
Yeah, and off ball catch and shoot kind of guy. But he gets more opportunities than MPJ because he's still Kevin Durant. So he's still going to average like 28 points a game on super efficient shooting. But I don't think he's going to be the guy that goes for like 45 or whatever in any of these games.
No.
But Devin Booker, like he will be that guy. He's going to have like a 40 piece. Yeah. Probably in one of these first 2 games. So
Kevin Durant in his media availability today, he was like, I think it was Vic Lombardi or Mike Singer asked him, he's like, you haven't really had a game where you have taken over in a Phoenix uniform yet. Do you feel like that's coming? And he's like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the best games of my career have come when I've been, quiet 25 to 30. And I'm like, okay, first of all, there's no such thing as a quiet 25 to 30. Like if you get 30, it's not quiet, but like it's Kevin Durant. So like, he could be sleepwalking through a game and end up at the end of the fourth quarter with 28 on like 15 shots. Like that, he's just that good.
Right.
But I do agree. Like Devin Booker is the guy on the offense right now. He's the guy who knows the scheme. He's the guy who knows everything. Kevin Durant's still getting integrated. He's still only played like less than 20 games with the team. So he's still working to get back to play with the team. So yeah, I mean, he's still Kevin Durant. He's still going to be good. And I think if there's a series where he's going to have to take over, it's going to be this one because Denver has a lot better defenders than the Clippers do, and it's more likely that Devin Booker is going to have an off game against the Nuggets than it was against the Clippers. So if he has an off game, Durant's going to have to step up. And I mean, Kevin Durant to me is like the best plug and play superstar the NBA has ever seen. Like he, Russell Westbrook blossomed into a superstar when they were together in OKC. And it worked perfectly. Like Kevin Durant was able to defer to him at shots. Russell Westbrook was able to defer to Durant for shots. Like, it worked out perfectly. And then he goes to Golden State. Him and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson have like one of the best chemistries, one of the best dynamics we've ever seen from 3 perimeter guys. And he goes to Brooklyn. Him and Kyrie have a great dynamic perimeter wise. He comes here and he's fit in perfectly. Like he's a universal puzzle piece. It doesn't matter where you put him, he's going to be able to fit in perfectly.
Right. I mean, he doesn't really have much of an ego or when he's playing. And doesn't really he doesn't like need to take 25, 30 shots. Like that's just not the type of player he is and not the type of person he is. Like he'd rather, I think, sacrifice points for winning. And so, I mean, yeah, I agree. He's an amazing, piece to any puzzle. And yeah, it was probably Kyrie that like ruined the whole net situation. So yeah, I don't know. Do you want to do like prediction for the series? I guess
Yeah.
official.
Well, I have one more. Do you think this is a Peyton Watson series? Do you think we see him at any point? Like I've been talking to some people on Twitter, like they're like, maybe we see Peyton Watson. I'm like, dude, that's just gonna be so hard to throw a rookie in against Kevin Durant in the playoffs.
I mean, I was
after
gonna
not
say
playing in the series
not unless
before,
we're
like,
down like 3-1 and it's like desperate.
yeah, unless we're just getting absolutely blasted,
Yeah.
cooked by Durant Booker. I don't think we see. I think this is a huge Christian Brown series. Like he guarded Durant, he guarded Booker against Denver this series. Obviously, the Christmas Day game you can filter it out because he played like 3 minutes, so his averages are a little messed up. But like he did not play well against Denver in the 2 games that they played. And a lot of that was because Christian Brown was on him, and he made life hell for Christian Brown.
Yeah. I think maybe the better question is this if everything's going terribly, does Christian Brown get a start? Because KCP, I feel like that has a better chance than Peyton Watson actually like being a part of the rotation. Because KCP, like, he was kind of getting benched a little bit towards the end of the Minnesota series.
Yeah, in game 5, he didn't close. It was Bruce Brown.
Yeah, and if he has trouble, okay, so I guess probably Bruce Brown would start, but I guess more to KCP come off the bench if Booker is having an insane series and you try to because I don't know, I feel like Christian Brown would do a better job defensively on Devin Booker overall than KCP, but obviously KCP brings you a ton more offense. But I
mean, Devin Booker, last game against Denver that he played, April 6th, 3 of 12, 15 points. He did have 8 assists. And then the game before, he had a decent game, but 9 of 20, only 2 of 9 from 3, 27 points. But he did have 4 turnovers, and that first game with Denver was down like 28 or something, and they somehow came back and almost won. So like he had really good first half, really good third quarter, but in the fourth quarter, closing the game, he wasn't very good. I don't know, like I wouldn't like Bruce Brown starting and being the main guy on Booker because I don't think Bruce Brown's big enough. Like Devin Booker's he's like a legit 6'6", 6'7", and Bruce Brown's like a very small 6'4".
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be very comfortable with that being the matchup. I would honestly be more comfortable with Christian Brown.
Oh yeah.
Starting over Bruce Brown. And
that's honestly like my most like comfortable with. If I could pick anyone to guard Devin Booker, it'd be Christian Brown.
Yeah, same. I agree. Yeah, it's tough. I think KCP can do a good job. Like you said before, like Anthony Edwards is a tough cover for KCP because Anthony Edwards is so big. He's literally built like a running back. Like he will just barrel through you and get to the rim because he just lowers his shoulder. But he's so good at not committing offensive fouls with it.
And he's just so strong. More wiry and long.
Yeah. Devin Booker's much more just kind of like back you down in terms of like not back you down, but just like face up type of guy. And then like a post up, mid post type of guy instead of a get to the rim.
Yeah. So, and all the post ups are like fadeaways.
Yeah. He's never going to the rim with his post ups. So it'll be an easier series for KCP. It's, easier in terms of he's built better for it. It's probably going to be harder because Devin Booker's playing at such a high level right now, but he'll be more comfortable defending. So, but if KCP's not making his shots and Devin Booker's still averaging like 40 a game through like 3 games or something, I wouldn't be surprised. Michael Malone in the playoffs is not hesitant at all to make changes to starting lineups. He's done it in almost every single postseason. Like he was not subbing out Will Barton for Torrey Craig in the first playoff run. Like that's a big decision to make, and it paid off great. In that Utah series, he starts Monte Morris, benches Michael Porter, benches Torrey Craig, starts Jeremy Grant. Like big changes in the starting lineup, and those really flipped a switch. Like he's a very good adjusting coach in the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens. It's just like it just sucks because he's a rookie. Christian Brown's a rookie. Like, does Malone trust him enough in the playoffs to go get it? And I don't know. I think Christian Brown's played pretty well in the playoffs so far. So I would trust him, but Obviously, I'm not the coach, and Malone. I also want to give props to him. He coached a hell of a series against Minnesota. Like
Yeah.
he pushed all the right buttons. Like he wasn't late on rotations. Like if there was a timeout in the regular season, sometimes like game 5, right? It's tied at like 86, 9 minutes to go. He calls a timeout. Regular season, Jokic isn't coming in for another minute and a half. He gets Jokic in immediately. He gets the starters in immediately. And he coached a really, really good series. I hope you can keep that up because I think if Malone now coaches Monty Williams, Denver wins. Like if that happens, Denver wins because Monty Williams cannot find a bench rotation that he likes yet.
Right.
So
I agree.
we'll see. I think prediction wise,
I'm going Nuggets in 5. I really am. Like
in 5,
I don't because I don't think they close it on the road.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be game 6. Like if it does go into game 6, I think it goes to game 7. But I do think they can win 1 on the road. I don't think they can close it out on the road. But I think they can win 1 of 3 or 4 on the road. Obviously, they have to win their first 2 home games. But I think they can. Like I think they will kind of command those 2 games. So yeah, I'm going Nuggets in 5.
I'll go Nuggets in 7. I like 5 is like best case scenario. Like that's if everything goes right. Denver wins their first 2 home games. Phoenix takes game 3, and then Denver takes 4 and 5, and then you're out in 5. If they win in 5, those title odds are gonna shoot up. Like Denver is gonna be pretty easily the title favorite if they're able to beat Phoenix in 5. But like the thing is, it's possible. Like it is definitely possible for them to win in 5. Like hoping for it. I don't think it happens. Like that would be. I think Denver wins the championship. If they win in 5, they're winning it.
I feel like people are like, I feel like people forget just how dominant Denver is at home. Like, they just don't lose. They're 34-7, but a couple of those losses were like end of the season, whatever. They didn't really care and people weren't really playing. But like, legit, they could be like a 3 legit home losses, type of team. And like, so and Phoenix has to win 1 at Denver, and it's like that's just not as easy as it sounds at all.
It's not.
I mean, Minnesota came close twice, but obviously didn't win a game in Denver. But so yeah, that's why I think like I don't think Phoenix gets 1 in Denver unless it's game 7 and Booker has like 45 and whatever. They're just going off like the godforsaken CJ McCollum Blazers. Like that's the only way I think I see him winning a road game.
Then like Denver has
the Suns are gonna like win this first game. I know. I just know.
Denver has 3 legit home losses on the season. Like I just looking back, like they had a couple at the end of the season that didn't really matter. Like they had home losses against like New Orleans when they didn't play Jokic. A lot of their home losses came without Jokic, or like with anybody playing really. And their 3 home losses are like actually kind of funny when they're fully healthy. Like it was against Detroit at the very beginning of the season. And then it was against the Bulls, the game that we both went to, and then it was against the Nets. That's it. Those are their 3 home losses, like that where they were fully healthy. That's it. So, and those last 2 were just clearly like Denver was in a funk, and they found their way out of it. Like they're fine.
And they were like 1 second away from winning that Nets game.
Yeah, they were really, really close. So it's just like Denver they're the best home team in the league. The only 2 teams ahead of them, I think, are Memphis and Golden State. Like, but they're the best home team. Like they have a lot of weird losses in there.
Yeah, I think, God, man, this Denver team could be like so good, and like I don't even think like we really know it because, like, I'm still doubting them a little bit, but like everything that could have gone right this season has gone right. Like everything that you predicted in the offseason, okay, everyone's healthy, let's go get the 1 seed in the West, like bang, and then the Timberwolves come around and it's like, oh, Minnesota could pose some problems. Some people even picking the Timberwolves to win that series, and then Denver just cleans them up in 5. And so like everything that has gone right, that could have gone right this season coming into the season, Jokic triple double, damn near. Like, you know, that's what everyone was saying he had to do to win MVP, and he did it, and he's not going to win MVP. But and in the playoffs, everything has really gone right so far. So like, this team could really be good, and I'm kind of banking that they are. That's why I'm gonna say
if like that's why I said like best case scenario, which is what kind of has happened for Denver this season. They win in 5. Like I completely agree with you. So if they're able to take 2 in Denver, that's going to put a ton of pressure on Phoenix. That's going to put so much pressure on Phoenix. But Phoenix has also blown 2-2 leads in the last 2 years. Like they understand that it's not over at that point. Denver also has to understand it's not over at that point. But if they just win their home games, which they have and they will, they're going to win. So that's why I just think every home team wins in this series. And I think Denver wins in 7. But that's what happened last season against Dallas. Every home team won until Game 7.
Right, exactly. Like all it takes is just one of these games.
Yeah. Game 7's literally anything can happen. We haven't seen a Game 7 since the Clippers series, and they are the most stressful moments of your life. Like you are sitting there drenched in sweat from tip to final buzzer.
Yeah.
It's the worst feeling in the world. Like when you're watching other Game 7s, when your team is not involved, it's great. It's awesome. Like you're having a blissful time. It's the best moment in your life. And then the second your team's games comes on, you don't move. You're sitting in one spot, and one turnover will make you want to throw the remote at the TV. Yeah. This is big time. I'm excited. I'm really excited. It's been a while since we've had a legit series.
I know, 26 hours. I know, but finally. This really is as I said, the first time in my life that this really feels like a legit chance to win a championship, and you have to win these games. But you really don't have to win these games. It's insane how the discourse is, but it's whatever.
Yeah. It's not championship
still young. The Nuggets still have 4 or 5 years of this kind of whatever competitiveness. Anyways, is that all you wanted to say about the series? Should we hit on any other NBA stuff or go with the Broncos?
I mean, we talk about Milwaukee a little bit, just how good Jimmy Butler was.
God,
it's ridiculous. I had Milwaukee in the championship. I had them. I was last year they lose in 7 to Boston. They didn't have Chris Middleton. The roster wasn't constructed the greatest. They retooled a little bit. They looked really good in the regular season. They passed Boston. They're playing their best ball right now. But then all it takes is one injury. Giannis goes down for 3 games, and then that was all it took.
Yeah. And they're so it was looking like they're so deep, and that they're just gonna be unbeatable even without Giannis. They won the game that Giannis didn't play at all.
Yeah.
So even when Giannis wasn't playing, they were still so dominant. And then it definitely looked like they were the best team going on in the playoffs. And it's insane that they lose in 5, because that usually never happens in basketball. And then I remember in hockey, wasn't it the Lightning who were the best team in the league, and did they get swept by
they got swept. They had not only the best team in the league, I think they set the NHL points record.
No way.
I think they did. I know they won the President's Cup that year. They had the most points.
Yeah.
And they got swept. But I think they might have also set the record for most points in the season.
Don't
quote me on it though.
So it's not at that level, but it's
it's pretty bad.
And they were up double digits in fourth quarters in the 2 games Giannis legitimately played in.
Yeah.
And they still lost. And it's frustrating to watch Giannis in the clutch in the playoffs in a half-court offense. It's painfully brutal, because he's scared to get fouled, and then when he does get fouled, he misses the free throws. But they're not going to just let him score without getting fouled. So it's he can't make a shot outside the paint. Anyways, you live with that at all times. You live with. Yeah. I saw him try a post hook. You live with that every day of the week. You just can't live with him rim running and slamming it. But instead, you give him 24 free throws, and he only makes 10, and so that's 14 points. left off the board, and all they
Yeah.
needed was like 4 more of those, or
Mhm.
literally 1 more because they went into overtime. So like that's just excruciating, and I don't know how they like won the championship like in 2021.
They won it in spite of Bud. Like I truly like Bud. He should have been fired the first time he lost Miami.
Yeah,
First off,
yeah,
like he shouldn't have made it that far. Um, he shouldn't like they barely won. Like I know a lot of people get annoyed when you talk about Kevin Durant's foot, but like legitimately, that little like inch was the difference between Coach Bud getting fired and Giannis requesting a trade. Like legitimately, if they lose that series, the entire NBA landscape is different. Um, but if they lose that, he should have been fired. Last season, there's injuries. Like it's coming off a championship. There's no reason to fire him. But I'm surprised he's still employed. Like legitimately, I'm still surprised we haven't seen a Woj tweet saying Mike Budenholzer and the Milwaukee Bucks have mutually agreed to part ways. Like I'm surprised that hasn't come in because he might be one of the worst coaches I've seen in terms of adjustments. Like absolutely nothing. Drew Holiday was getting hooked time and time and time again by Jimmy Butler, and not a single jump. They didn't double. They didn't switch the defense. They didn't try, somebody else, Wesley Matthews or Chris Middleton or Giannis, like nobody else. They just kept letting him get abused. And the fact that they had timeouts at both the end of regulation and at the end of overtime, and they didn't use either. On that inbounds play, your runner up for defensive player of the year, Brook Lopez, is not on the court. Why is he not on the court?
Yeah.
Like I don't get it. I really don't understand.
The
He
timeouts.
the timeouts, the Brook Lopez, the Grayson Allen Euro step with half a second left and not even getting a shot off with your season on the line.
Yeah.
It's just, oh my God.
And
That was like one of the worst collapses. That's the worst collapse I've seen
oh yeah.
from a top seed.
Yeah. I think like Middleton has been just super underrated in this run, and like throughout this Bucks kind of regular season domination. And like and he was amazing in this game in game 5. And then they kind of just like went away from him, and then that's when they struggled. But like I'm looking at the games from when they won the championship. It was Chris Middleton that closed out the Hawks and got him to the finals. 32 in game 6 to close them out. Giannis didn't even play in game 5 and they won because Brook Lopez at 33, Middleton at 26. And then game 3 that they won, Middleton at 38. And so it's like that was his series. The end of it was his series. And their offense was a lot better. Like whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Giannis is obviously the best player on that team, but he in the half court offense, especially against a team like Miami, like I knew like Miami, they're not very good, but they don't get blown out. Like they just play in a ton of close games. And in the playoffs, when you have a guy playing at the level of Jimmy Butler, that's all you need. You need a close game. You need one of the most clutch players in the NBA, and then you have a chance to win. And with how bad Milwaukee's offense is in the half court, and with how good, like Bam Adebayo, like offensively he was horrendous this series, but defensively he was great. He had a triple double in the closeout game. He had a really good series defensively against Lopez and Bobby Portis and Giannis in the last couple of games. Like he played phenomenal, and that like wall, Miami was the first team to like use the wall against Giannis, and they did it again, and it worked. Like you just force him to do anything above the dotted line, and he can't do it. Like it's just not in his game, and that's the thing he has to fix.
They're kind of like the Raptors, like in that sense of, Bam Adebayo is like 6'9", and so they have all these wings just, attack Giannis, and not let him get to the rim, and then if he does get to the rim, just wrap him up, and he shoots less than 50% from the free throw line. It seems like every playoff run, he's always missing free throws. Like he's so streaky at the free throw line. That's what's insane. Like he can have like a 12 for 13 night at the free throw line in the regular season, but then he just has these games where he literally cannot, like you have no confidence in him to make a free throw. The hitch in his shot just looks really bad when he's unconfident. It's always short, like, and just not even close. It's a line drive.
Like
So
10 of 23 is insane. Like that is, I almost like choked when I was like, what? Like he
yeah,
10 of 23. Like I didn't know he shot that. Like I was only able to watch like I didn't even watch the fourth quarter. I watched until the end of the third. I was like, oh, it's a 16-point game. Like we're going back to Miami for game 6. And then I was getting ready to leave, and like I was getting a bunch of tweets, and I was like, wait, what? And I checked the score, and it was a 2-point game with a minute left. I was like, what the hell?
yeah.
What happened?
And then he almost, I don't know if you saw it, but he threw the ball away on
Yeah.
the jump ball. But
Because he was
I
too afraid
forget
to
what
get fouled.
oh yeah, that too. He gave it to Middleton. And then Middleton, I don't know what's going through Middleton's mind. Like if I see Grayson Allen on the perimeter, I'm not passing him the ball. Like there's no chance I'm giving Grayson Allen the ball in the playoffs to try to win a game. And Grayson Allen just like didn't even know what to do.
He had no clue.
He just dribbled out the clock.
Yeah, like he had never been in that position in the NBA before.
Yeah, but again, that starts like with Giannis though. Like
Yeah.
with Giannis's original pass, I bet Middleton really mentally is not in a scoring state because he's like, oh, we got Giannis and he's been shooting the ball every time or going the free throw line every time. And so then when Middleton gets the ball, he's not like mentally ready to score. And then he passes it to a guy who looks open. And then he's obviously not ready mentally to score.
Yeah.
And that just starts with Giannis just being afraid of getting fouled. And yeah, that it's tough. And it gets exposed in the playoffs because like teams have time to game plan and it's just tougher like in the half court and you don't get as many transition opportunities.
Yeah. And that this series opens up. I'll say this, and we can go to the Broncos.
Yeah.
But I like this series really opens up the conversation for best in the world. Like I feel like it was like I've always thought Jokic is the best in the world since like last season probably. And I feel like most Nuggets fans have thought that there's a certain assortment of other guys, but I feel like Giannis is kind of the more consensus opinion. But this series was bad. Like the 2 games he played, he did not close them out good at all.
I know, and people are giving them giving Giannis an excuse for losing because he got hurt. But the games he played in, he didn't even win a game. He lost the games that he played in.
Yeah, they won more games without him than they did with him. So, like,
I mean, and he just blew like. You're telling me he gets a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, and he's fully, and the team is fully healthy. Like 2 games of that you blow, including one at home. I mean, come on.
No, that it's bad. It's bad.
So yeah, and then he goes on the post game and says that the season is not a failure, and that there's no failure in sports. There is clear failure in sports. The Tampa Bay Lightning that we just talked about, that was a failure. The Warriors being up 3-1 and losing, that is a failure. Like that's nothing short of a failure. And this season, having the best record, and you go out in 5 to an 8 seed team that didn't they lose their first playing game?
Yeah, they lost to the Hawks.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were down in the fourth quarter against Chicago too in the second game.
Yeah, and you say it's not a failure. Like your team is getting old. Drew Holiday's old. Middleton's old. Brook Lopez is old. Joe Ingles is old. Jay Crowder is old. Bobby Portis is not young. That whole team is pretty old.
They're the oldest team in the league, like on average age.
Yeah. Juwan Carter looks like he's old. But, so like, yeah, this season was a failure for the Bucks. Like,
yeah,
there's no like stepping, like it's not like he's a young team trying to, climb their way in the championship. He already has a championship. And so it's, like, I don't know. I didn't really like that answer. I know a lot of people did like that answer that he gave to the reporter, but I didn't at all.
I think more people were like impressed with the fact they like held back his anger and he was able to like give like a thought out response, probably. But like I kind of agree with him in no failure, but in a situation like this, like there's definitely failure. Like if you're like I understand his mindset when you say no failure, because like that's the type of mindset you have to have, because you can't get too low and it's like, oh, like we suck. Like this is definitely a failure. Like I'm sure there's a sentiment around the team that like, yeah, we failed. But like I don't think individually you can have that mindset, but it was definitely a failure. Like people on the outside are going to call it that. And because that's what it was. But like this definitely opens up the best player in the world conversation for a number of people who are still in the playoffs. Like if Jokic has a really good playoff run and Denver makes it to the finals, and if they win the finals, Jokic is going to be considered the best in the world. Like, yeah, he has to be.
I
He
mean,
cannot.
even Nick Wright is
Yeah,
saying good stuff. He picked the Nuggets in the series, and
I think that's because he has a bigger anti-Suns agenda than he does anti-Nuggets
I
agenda.
didn't even know that.
Because which is weird. I
Well,
think it's because he's a huge LeBron fan and he
he's a
doesn't like
Giannis guy
KD.
too, right? Doesn't he? Isn't he a Giannis guy?
Nick Wright, no, he's a huge LeBron fan.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, he picked the Lakers to win the championship. So,
No.
but yeah, like he because I just think he doesn't like Kevin Durant. So the fact that KD's on the Suns now, but yeah, so for his anti-Suns agenda to be bigger than his anti-Denver, like his anti-Denver agenda transcends sports. Like it's across like every. Like he hates the Broncos too. So
Oh yeah, yeah. He's a Kansas City guy. So
yeah. For him to pick Denver, he's got to really hate Phoenix. But I mean Denver, like if Jokic has a really good playoff run, he could be considered best in the world. If Tatum has a good playoff run, he's going to be entered in the argument. If Curry has another really good one, he might be considered best in the world. If the Lakers somehow go on and win, LeBron is going to be right back in there, which is insane because he's 38. But that's going to happen. So
I mean, even Skip Bayless, I saw was like he said Jokic was growing on him or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
it's insane that this happened because Jokic went 8 for 29 because he actually tried to shoot.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane that it like really took this long for Jokic to finally be like talked about. Like, I mean, even with these like 2 MVPs, they just I mean, you have to win in the playoffs to get respect from the media.
Yeah.
And so if they win this series and they win it like soundly, that'll be a statement for sure.
If they win it in 6 or less, that's going to be a huge statement. I think if they win it in 7, people are going to be like, so that's the expectation with home court. Right. Like if they win it in 6 or less, that's going to be a big time statement. If they close it out on the road, like that's going to be huge. Phoenix is also a really good home team.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Broncos side of things. I will say I did not watch the draft last night. My interest without a Broncos pick is very low. Just putting it out there. But I did keep track of a lot of things. What was your like favorite pick of that first round?
Definitely Javon Carter. What is that guy's name? Javon Carter is just on my mind, right? Jalen Carter?
Yeah.
From Georgia, right?
Yeah, Jalen Carter.
Yeah, Jalen Carter. That was my Javon Carter is just on my mind. That was my favorite pick of the draft. Like Howie Roseman absolutely killed it. And then getting Nolan Smith also. Like, God, dude, I don't know how the Bears that was really bad. I think the trade down, like to just take that tackle when Jalen Carter, who like seems like he's probably the best overall player in this draft. And you let him slip to the Eagles. Oh my God. I mean, that defensive line is just going to be insane.
Yeah. So you have Jordan Davis there still.
Years. Yeah. I mean, they just have
completely revamped it. Like you revamped it completely because Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham are getting up there in age, but you replace them with guys like Jordan Davis, with Nolan Smith, with Jalen Carter. Like you replace them fine. Like you got huge prospects to get them back, and if they develop like you think they can, they're going to replace them just fine.
Yeah,
it's insane. Yeah.
I mean, I also even like the CJ Stroud pick. Like with him, just it looked like he was really going to slip in this draft with the media really pounding him, and then the Texans end up taking him too. Like I feel like that is the right pick. He probably is either 1 or 2 in the quarterback. Like there's no way Will Levis should go ahead of him or Richardson really.
I'm glad they didn't overthink it. Like a new GM, new head coach, it's very easy to kind of overthink. I'm glad they didn't do that.
I like their idea about trading with the number 3. I don't like the trade, and I don't necessarily like the pick, but I like the idea of being that aggressive and But the trade that was a major haul because the Texans are not going to be good next year, and they just gave up their first round pick for next year. So like AZ is going to have another top 10 pick probably.
The Arizona, I thought Arizona also. I thought the 2 clear winners were the Cardinals and the Eagles in the draft. Like,
I honestly thought that like when the Texans traded back up to 3, I was like, they're not. Are they doing this for Paris Johnson? Like, because like, could they just pick two Ohio State guys and like solidify the kind of the offense? But because like there were talks that AZ could take Paris Johnson at 3, so it's
Mhm.
like, did they just try to do that to take Paris Johnson right then? But no, they went consensus, I guess, best defensive player on the board.
Yeah.
But there are like some doubts about him. So
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too. I like the aggressiveness, like for a young team, a new head coach, especially a defensive minded head coach. I'm sure that was like a D'Amico Ryans type of pick. He definitely had a ton of sway for that. But I like it. I like Will Anderson. I think Jalen Carter is probably better, but with the concerns about what happened prior to the draft, it's understandable why he slipped. So I guess kind of the safer pick I guess is Will Anderson. But yeah, I like that. But yeah, I thought Arizona crushed it, trading back and then they still were able to get Paris Johnson, because they
yeah,
traded with Detroit at 6. So they still were able to get their guy. I think they tweeted out, Adam Schefter, Rappaport tweeted out like they were going to take Paris Johnson at 3 anyway, and
right.
they still got him at 6. So I thought they really did it. They did a really good job.
I like the Raiders pick too. Unfortunately, Tyree Wilson,
Yeah,
because he was getting major number 2 overall pick hype. Like that the Texans, if they were going to go defense, maybe they take him instead of Will Anderson. But I guess they liked Anderson better. But I think Tyree Wilson, he's got like a better like frame, he's more athletic and he's
yeah,
more and he's bigger, a lot bigger. So like I feel like he's going to be good. I didn't like the Bijan pick really by the
me
Falcons.
neither.
That was kind of weird. The
It's
Lions
so
pick
hard to
was
justify
weird.
taking running back
I
that
know,
early.
even a guy like that talented, but like Saquon was that talented, and whatever. But like, I like still need a quarterback, man, and like
Yeah, like they're gonna give it a run with Ritter, and like I feel like you kind of like he went 4th round last year, I think, or was
yeah,
he
third
early?
or fourth, I think.
Like, but like so it's definitely a toss up if he's gonna be good or not. But like you're probably gonna be bad next year anyway. So and next year if you're really bad, there's a better prize than Anthony Richardson or not even if there's a better prize than Will Levis
Mhm.
available with Caleb Williams. So, but I just like there was somebody else you could have taken. You could have taken Christian Gonzalez. Like that's my favorite pick. I thought the
Yeah,
fact that he fell to 17, the Patriots were able to take him is huge. I thought he was the best corner available in the draft. Um, he's huge. He's long. He's like has phenomenal ball skills. Somehow landed at Colorado for his first season and then left immediately. But I love that pick. But picking running back that early is so hard to justify.
yeah.
The same thing with the Lions taking Jahmyr Gibbs. Like that was
Oh my god, dude,
I
the
was
line,
shocked that they picked him.
and then
I've
they
been
picked
so
Jen.
high on the Lions,
Yeah,
and their 2 picks in the draft were really confusing.
yeah, and it's like they could be good, but it just like going back to the Raiders thing when they picked like Alex Leatherwood or they picked Cleveland Farrell, like, and both turned out to be busts, but they could be good. But the thing is, like, they're going to be available way later. And the Lions with the 18th pick, Jahmyr Gibbs, without a doubt, would have been available at
Yeah,
18.
100%.
And then Jack Campbell, without a doubt, would be available at 34, who they got in that trade down. And would probably be available in like the later on, maybe even the 3rd round.
Yeah,
And they go with him at 18. So that was very weird. They picked kind of the 2 like invaluable positions or whatever,
yeah,
least valuable positions on a football team. And they just picked those 2 guys with the first 2 picks. So that was weird. The Quentin Johnson of the Chargers, that was weird too. Like, I don't think wide receiver is their main need.
if they're gonna go wide receiver, you need speed. Like they need speed. They don't need another big
I
body
know they just went
jump
with
ball
another
receiver. You
like
have
Mike
2 of those
Williams.
already.
Yeah.
That was like I like that they went wide receiver, but you need speed. You need a deep threat. Otherwise,
I
your
don't.
offense is gonna look the exact same next year.
Yeah, I don't like the Jordan Addison pick to the Vikings. I realized that they lost Thielen, but like KJ Osborne's still good, and then they had like Jalen Naylor that they picked last year, and Jordan Addison I just don't think is like first round like caliber.
Yeah, you could have taken another, like you could have taken Jalen Hyatt in the second round,
Yeah,
or
I mean, like
someone else, and gotten a better defender or somebody there.
it's clear that they like value the route runners, and they
Mhm.
hit on Justin Jefferson, and maybe that's why they want to go another route runner here, and they had Adam Thielen, another route runner, but like just no explosiveness. I mean, he's not a good guy after the catch. He's not fast. He's not big. He's not whatever. He's just a receiver. Like he's just there.
Yeah,
So that was weird.
Jackson Smith and Jigba to the Seahawks. I really like that pick too.
Yeah,
I think that's a good pick. I think they just kind of took best player available, but
yeah. I know that. I was gonna say it's like weird for him to go there because no one, I don't think, was really projecting the Seahawks to take him. But
yeah, I don't think anyone projected him to be available that late.
yeah, at 20, yeah.
Yeah. Who else?
I like Zay Flowers though for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Chargers. I mean, Zay Flowers is right there for the Chargers. Literally like Tyreek Hill 2.0, as you just said that they need speed, and then they go with this guy. They go with Quinn Johnson, who's like he's good, but I don't know.
Yeah.
The Broncos,
Seahawks going Devon Witherspoon at 5 I thought was weird. Like
that was like a reach for sure. Especially they should have just picked Jalen Carter.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, the thing with Jalen Carter going to the Eagles that's such a nice fit is like he has like 5 or 6 college teammates that he played with that can kind of keep him in check.
Yeah.
You know, like that they can actually approach him and talk to him and they feel comfortable because he was a teammate, and like tell him, no, you shouldn't do this or whatever. So like him having that kind of support around him, I think is like a perfect match.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I saw some Philly fans like before, even when Roseman was there, they were taking guys from like smaller schools and like taking risks. But now they've started to just go from bigger schools. Like Georgia has been kind of their feeder school lately. And it's paid off really, really well lately. So that's huge for them. Just looking through these other picks. Yeah, I mean, I Eagles crushed it. Honest, like they did huge.
Oh, yeah, I think they won it so far. And then who else like won it? The Van Ness pick with the Packers is kind of like weird too. I don't know. That just isn't like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that pick.
Yeah, I thought they should have gone receiver again, but I mean, clearly Rodgers or not, they don't.
Emmanuel Forbes ahead of Christian Gonzalez. That is something else that the Commanders did. That was really like that's a Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
right there. Maybe
that's overthinking it. That's like just
That's
Christian Gonzalez has probably the best tape from a college cornerback this season. Like he has the best tape. He has the best measurables. Like if you're gonna take a corner, why are you like? I just don't understand. Like some of the draft interviews that some people do, it's just like, oh my god, it doesn't make any sense. Like what are these things like? Sauce Gardner did an interview and it was like the Giants Wink, their defensive coordinator.
Wink
he was
Martindale.
like, he was like, okay, if you make 3 putts out of 10, we're gonna draft you at 5. It's like what does that have to do with anything football related, dude?
That actually, he said that.
Yeah. What does that have to do with anything football related? Who cares? This is so dumb. People just overthink it so much. It's very annoying.
Yeah. And I like the point that Chris Ballard made, like how they're just slamming on somehow like players just get randomly slammed even though like their tape is the best or whatever. Obviously I think he was talking about CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
But with the Broncos do finally make a pick tonight. We gotta wait like another 30 something picks, but
67th.
67th. The dream pick for me like is Zach Harrison, defensive end, long, like super long, strong, fast. I think he's got like a great NFL body, and if he can just develop or whatever, he could be a stud. So like that's the guy I hope that they pick, but I don't think he'll be available. I feel like he'll go in the second round. So, but yeah, I feel like I don't know what are the positions that you're hoping they hit on. I think defensive end or edge rusher could be another thing because Randy Gregory is just old and injury prone, and
Baron Browning is also injury prone.
yeah, and you need depth there.
Yeah. The defensive edge, like pass rusher, like regardless, like either interior or outside pass rusher, I think
right.
has
Just
to be
defensive line in general.
Yeah, defensive line in general, just depth there. Offensive line depth as well. Like if you're willing to go center, to kind of push Lloyd Cushenberry. I know they went and got Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey, so you're not going to get a starter at that point on the outside. But I like I would like for them to look for a center and see if there's someone they like. Just because Cushenberry's been he's been okay, but you need someone better. You don't want Russell Wilson to have to go through that much pressure again.
Right. Secondary, I think.
Secondary depth. I honestly think wide receiver depth as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with KJ Hamler. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded tonight and Denver moves up to go get somebody. But it's just their wide receivers are injury prone. Like Jerry Jeudy, he was injured at points this season. He was injured last season. He was injured his rookie season. Tim Patrick's coming off an ACL. KJ Hamler is the most injury prone receiver I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Just sucks because he's so talented. So I think they need depth, and their depth isn't very it's Brandon Johnson and Jalen Virgil and little Jordan Humphrey. It's just people who
are a bunch of undrafted guys.
Yeah, they're fine, but they're not that good. So I would like for them to go get someone. Jalen Hyatt would be my guy at receiver, but once again, I highly doubt he's there unless they trade up. But yeah, those are my top three positions: interior offensive line, defensive line, and then wide receiver.
Yeah.
No.
I don't really know the names or anything.
Me neither.
I just know Zach Harrison. DeJuan Jones is a huge player, huge offensive tackle. He had the longest wingspan of any offensive lineman in the past 20 years or whatever, and then he's also 350 pounds.
Oh my god.
He's just I think he's 6'7". So he's just a monster of a man I feel like he could develop into just an absolute beast, but he could also just be a guy who just holds every single play. But I just I want to pick a freak in third round, just someone who could be a monster. I feel like that's where you take those guys, and both Zach Harrison and DeJuan Jones are freaks of nature. So
nice. Yeah. No, I don't know any of the names either. I was not very tuned into draft Twitter this year. Last year I was really, really into it, but that's because Denver had a second rounder. They had this time it's third round. We're gonna have to wait until 9 p.m. until they make their picks.
I know.
Okay.
I have to be on, so I won't even be watching them.
Yeah, I have a final due tonight. I have some other priorities to take care of. Yeah. Also, the Broncos have been so bad. This season's sucked the joy out of football for me. I just it's just a chore tuning in on Sundays to watch.
Yeah.
So that's why I also just didn't care. But I'm excited to see what they do, because whoever they pick is going to tell a lot about what Sean Payton wants the identity of the team to be. Because free agency, there were just so many holes on the team. They just went that any head coach, any GM would go after those guys. But the draft is where you really see the head coach's identity and where they want the team's emphasis to be.
Yeah. So. And that's why, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's why I think they'll go D-line, actually, just because Sean Payton's kind of mantra, whatever, his first two signings were offensive line, and then he picked so many defensive linemen in New Orleans, and that New Orleans defensive line was always so huge and everything. So he definitely likes the interior guys, which I think is where you should build a football team. So I love that too, build inside out or whatever. So we shall see though.
We shall see. Did you see the video of him ripping a bong?
Yes, if that even is, if it's real, that's so funny. Yeah.
It's my coach. It's so funny. It's crazy. Like he's probably not gonna get any repercussions for that, but Laramie
I know,
Tunsil.
but dude, if he did that, like even just like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, or whatever, like,
No, he might get fired.
yeah,
Like Laramie Tunsil might have gone number 1 overall, and then he dropped to like 15th because a video that might not even have been him.
I know, right? It just like looked so like freaky. I think is maybe why he drops. Like it's not just he was just like ripping a bong, but he had like a
Yeah,
oxygen mask.
it
It
was
was
like
like,
hot boxing his face.
yeah.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Draft night's always fun. Like even though it wasn't like I wasn't paying it, like I wasn't watching, but I was still paying attention. It's still always fun
Yeah.
to see what happens. If they ever bring the draft to Denver, I want to go.
Yeah.
If it's in
We'll
Phoenix.
see what happens with Will Levis too. That's the
Yeah.
most interesting storyline of tonight. So
I'm really surprised he didn't go anywhere.
I think like the Raiders could pick him. Because I thought they could have picked him at 7, to be honest. But like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like, they didn't re-sign Stidham, who went to the Broncos.
Mhm.
And so like it feels like they just want to like open this up for Jimmy G. And like that's why Jimmy G left San Francisco, right? Is because they had a rookie quarterback. So are they really just going to draft another one?
Yeah, do it again.
And piss Jimmy off again? So probably not. So, but I don't know.
The Raiders would be interesting. I feel like the Rams could also be interesting. They need a guy back there. I don't even know who they're starting. I mean, well, it's going to be Stafford, but like the rumors of him retiring, his elbow is made of like paper mache right now.
Dude, did you see what Jim Irsay tweeted?
Oh yeah,
The Colts owner, like that's so funny as an owner, and he's just like,
he's like, hey, should we
pick
two?
Will Levis?
It's like 2 project quarterbacks
Yeah,
on a rebuilding team. It'd be hilarious.
dude, that would be hilarious, especially like in it like these days. I don't know, that just doesn't happen at all.
That'd be crazy. The fact that he tweeted it out means he's thinking about it too, which is just insane. Like,
dude, it's like if Dick Montfort just like tweeted like some stupid like thing. Should we trade Nolan Arenado and give him 50 million? Imagine if he said that. I mean, I wish.
if he said that, everyone was like, he's joking.
Yeah,
what a funny guy. And then he did it. I think he might have gotten shot. Like,
right. It's crazy he survived this long. And no, it's not, whatever. But all right. I think that'll do it. That was a very long episode.
Yeah.
But,
I gotta go to the gym. But yeah, good episode. We will see what happens tomorrow night, Denver versus Phoenix, and we'll see what happens tonight when Denver makes their pick.
Yep.
A lot of interesting stuff. We'll also see if the Avs win. So
Yeah,
who knows what happens.
Huge game. Avs has been pissing me off.
Yeah.
But
I think everything's just like caught up to them. Like,
I don't, it doesn't.
Other
It just
movies.
doesn't feel like they're like they have no momentum.
they have no like motivation. Like, it doesn't look like
Yeah.
they're like trying.
right. The whole Nichushkin situation, and
Yeah.
then Makari getting suspended, and yeah, like McKinnon, like in the interviews and stuff, just doesn't seem very motivated.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like it makes like I think the team was like expecting Landeskog to be back.
yeah,
I think they were expecting him, and the fact that he didn't was just kind of like a deflator.
yeah, and then like this is what I've learned. Like I'm not just like coming up with this in my mind, but like there's no like depth outside the first line. Like the first line just carries, and then after that, especially with Landeskog out and Nichushkin out, like there's and losing Nazem Kadri and all that, like they got no depth. So
Yeah. I mean that game 5 against Seattle, I saw someone say it. 5 of their top 11 scorers from last postseason didn't play in that game 5. Like that's all your depth. Your entire depth is gone. Like it was Landeskog wasn't playing, Makar wasn't playing, Nichushkin wasn't playing. All those guys are still on the team, but they're not out. And then Kadri and Burakovsky, they're left.
He's on Seattle, but he has
but he's also injured. He's not playing it either. But like all your depth is gone. Like, so it's just tough season. Speaking to my sources, which is just my play-by-play professor. He thinks Avs win today, and he thinks it's a toss-up
I mean, they literally they're better on the road than they are at home, and Seattle's also better on the road than they are at home, like record wise. So I mean, it lines up like that the Avs could win, but I just feel like they have to know, like as you said, they're just not playing like with any motivation. It feels like they're just done, and like, I mean, I could see the Avs winning, but I'm feeling like a 4-1, like Kraken just win.
Yeah, I feel like it could be like close going to the third period, but if Seattle scores first in the third period, I think they win because like they're just gonna. I think Colorado they're just not gonna have motivate. Like they're just gonna be done after the season. Like even like talking with some Avs fans, they're like, I just want the season to be over. Like such a grueling like chore to. I feel like it's kind of how the Nuggets were last season. It's like so many injuries. You're just expecting this help that never came. You're just like, oh, like I just
like
end it, please.
Let's just get to the off season.
Yeah. Nah. We'll see what happens. Big weekend in Denver sports. So don't know when we'll stream next, but we will get as much done as we can. And thanks y'all for watching.